Tennessee Titans fans, draft night 2 has just come to a close. A very eventful night for the Tennessee Titans, addressing some positions of need, and some positions of need continue to go unaddressed. So let's break down what happened tonight. First of all, as rumored throughout the day, as we thought they would try to do, the Tennessee Titans did trade back. They traded back 17 spots from 35 to 52. That's a big jump in the trade that they made with the Seattle Seahawks, but the Titans picked up a third rounder, which is a big deal. They got back into the third round. That's good news. The only bad news is they watched players like Luther Burden. They watch certain players that, Ezeroku, some of those guys that had been heavily rumored to go to the Titans, Jaden Higgins. They watched some of those guys go off the board, which I think Jaden Higgins would have been gone anyway because Houston took him at 34. But anyway, the Titans did watch a lot of those players that we liked go off the board. But here's the thing about Luther Burden. I don't think the Titans were ever going to draft him anyway. I think the character issues, the character concerns, I should say, I think were just something the Titans weren't interested in dealing with. So I don't think they were going to draft Luther Burden, no matter how much certain people in the fan base wanted them to. So what did the Titans do? Well, they go to number 52, and they draft a major position of need. They draft, I will call him Femi Oladipo. That's not his full name, but that's just, I don't want to butcher the pronunciation. Femi Oladipo, edge rusher from UCLA. So obviously that's a major position of need. We knew that coming in, that the Titans were going to have to get some edge rushers. And although I have made it clear on the podcast, my preferred method would have been to go wide receiver in the second round, I also said I would understand if they wanted to take an edge rusher, and that's exactly what they did in the second round. So this is a guy who transitioned from linebacker to an edge rusher. He is still relatively new at being an edge rusher. Big guy, good power, good length. I mean, you can tell when you watch the guy's film, he's a presence on the field. But he's going to have to learn. I mean, like I said, he was a linebacker turned into an edge rusher, so he's still relatively new to the whole edge rusher thing. The upside is unbelievable with this guy, but with players like Landon Jackson from Arkansas, who I really liked, who were still on the board, there were some other edge rushers that people would have maybe had above this guy. I understand if there were other guys you wanted more, but it's a major position of need, a guy with tons of upside that the Titans really liked. They had a top 30 visit with this guy. So I'm not going to complain about it. I don't think it's a bad pick, but it's one of those that they're going to have to develop him. And I think it's clear that the Titans are looking well beyond just this upcoming season in 2025. They understand this is probably going to be a guy who's going to have to learn and learn some more, and they are content with that. But the upside with Femi Oladipo is immense. Like I said, what a physical specimen. You can see on tape, just in the limited time that he's been playing edge rusher, he's done a great job. So I don't hate the pick at all. And then you get to the third round where, like I said, the Titans had the 82nd pick, a pick that they acquired in the trade with Seattle, and they went safety. A position of need, they went with Kevin Winston Jr. Now, throughout this offseason, the Titans, in all of the moves that they've made in free agency, what have they done? They've signed a bunch of players who are durable. They've signed players who stay healthy. They have signed players who they know will probably keep themselves healthy and in the lineup. This is really the first move that they have made where they've taken a guy either through the draft or free agency that has dealt with injuries, that has a significant injury history. He tore his ACL last season. Okay, and so that's not as big of an injury as it used to be these days, but it is still a significant injury. The good news is he tore his ACL early on in the season, so it's not like he tore his ACL in the bowl game, and so he's probably not going to be ready. He could very well be ready to go week 1 for the Titans. As a matter of fact, his 40 that he ran at the Combine, I don't remember what the exact number was, but I mean, it certainly looked as though that's a guy who's probably going to be ready to go. And there's a lot of people who feel like, I understand with the injury, and he pretty much didn't play except for like 2 games this last season. So, of course, you're going to be hesitant. But, again, the upside with Kevin Winston Jr. at safety is immense. Ryan Fowler said a healthy Kevin Winston Jr. is right up there with the elite of the elite defenders in this class. Extremely rangy, long, and physical defender that can make plays from sideline to sideline. Early day 2 grade on my board, and Tennessee gets him at 82. Could be one of the steals of the class. So I am not against this pick. Like I said, sometimes when you get to the 3rd, the 4th round, sometimes that's where you take a chance on a guy who's been injured, but if he can get healthy and if he can stay healthy, tremendous upside. And it's not like there's going to be too much pressure on him coming in this season because you've got Amani Hooker, you've got Xavier Woods there, who are veterans, who are durable, who can stay in. And then this guy can kind of learn the ropes. So I'm not opposed to this. Safety was a position of need as well. Let's just talk about the elephant in the room, and that is wide receiver. The thing I don't like about this, if I'm being honest, I don't like that you take your quarterback of the future with the first pick in the draft, and then you go defense with your next 2 picks. Now, the draft's not over. The Titans have the first pick of the day, bright and early tomorrow. There's still some good wide receivers there. I know Luther Burden's gone. Jaden Higgins is gone. Ryan Williams is going to be lead blocking for Travion Henderson in New England. I know a lot of those wide receivers that people liked are no longer on the board, but the Titans can still get somebody to come and contribute at wide receiver, probably with the first pick of the day tomorrow, hopefully. But I do understand the frustration when you take Cam Ward and then you follow it up with 2 defensive players. Not saying we don't need those defensive players, but man, you really want to try and put your new quarterback in a position to succeed. And I know Calvin Ridley's there, and now Tyler Lockett's there, and that's fine. But man, we need some youth in that wide receiver room. We need a young guy, hopefully, for Cam to come up the ranks with. So I hope that the Titans are going to be able to pick somebody like that tomorrow. It's not that I have a problem with Femi Oladipo or Kevin Winston Jr. I'm happy to have them. It's a major position of need. I'm all about shoring up that defense and filling in everywhere you can. And the Titans said they're going to stay true to the board. They're not just going to go with position of need. They're going to go with best players available on their board, and that's apparently what they've done. One thing I will say, the first name that comes to mind, if the Titans are indeed going to draft a wide receiver first thing out of the gate tomorrow, I have to talk about Xavier Restrepo, because of the ties to Cam Ward and the ties to Miami. I mean, I could see that being a route that the Titans go down because of that. Cam Ward already knows Xavier Restrepo. He's already thrown to Xavier Restrepo. Maybe those two, they're already friends. They're already on the same page. Could see the Titans doing that. I'm actually taking this from Mike Herndon, who put some of the best players still available. He did mention running back Cam Skattebo. I don't think I would take him right out of the gate tomorrow, but I would not have a problem at all if the Titans wanted to draft Cam Skattebo at some point, because I think there's a ton of upside there. But in terms of wide receivers, Jalen Royals, Alec Ayomanor, and I'm probably butchering that name, Torrey Horton, and Xavier Restrepo, Andrew Armstrong, Isaiah Bond, if you're talking about a speedy guy. I don't know if I would take Isaiah Bond first thing in the morning, but certainly that is a route they could go. But there are still some wide receivers that the Titans can get. I know some of us had our hearts set on Emeka Egbuka or Luther Burden or Ryan Williams. I understand that, but you know, Jaden Higgins was another one that people had their hearts set on, but you know, you can't fix everything. The Titans chose to go edge rush. I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to say that's the wrong route to go, because that is a major position of need, but something gets left out, and so far it's been wide receiver, because with the Tennessee Titans, it's always wide receiver. One thing I would say in terms of defense, if he's still there later on, did the Titans take a swing on Jack Sawyer if they want to get another edge rusher? Jack Sawyer, who had a tremendous season for Ohio State. Do they take a swing on him? Still some offensive linemen they could get, but I'm looking at that wide receiver position first thing in the morning. It's got to be addressed. The Titans have the first pick of the 4th round tomorrow, and they've got to take care of it. Overall, my biggest complaint about today's draft for the Titans, I just would have loved to have seen them do something to help out their new quarterback instead of just, I mean, ultimately, defense helps. I mean, it's complementary football. I know that. But, I would have loved to have seen them get a wide receiver right out of the gate to help. But I kind of figured when the news broke about Tyler Lockett the night before the draft, I kind of figured we may be heading down a road where the Titans only take one wide receiver in this draft. I could be wrong, but we will see. I'm starting to feel more and more like Treylon Burks is going to be back on this team because they're going to need somebody with some youth about them. The last thing that I want to say, this has nothing to do with the Titans, but I can't believe, that Shedeur Sanders is still, I can't believe that we're going into day 3 and he's still not been taken. I've never seen anything like it. A guy who they touted as a top 5 draft pick is, he's been passed over multiple times by the Browns, multiple times by the Giants, multiple times by the Saints, multiple times by the Steelers. In fact, the Browns took Dylan Gabriel. The Saints, what's the kid's name from Louisville? I don't even remember his name. Tyler something. The Seahawks took Jalen Milroe. I could have never in my wildest dreams imagined this, but just let it be known that ESPN tried to ruin Cam Ward's moment when he got drafted by showing clips of a guy who's going to go probably in the 5th or 6th round and go be a backup somewhere. It's not a knock on Shedeur, but it sure is a knock on ESPN. I've never seen a lot of reporters have lost a lot of credibility with this whole Shedeur Sanders thing. I know we're here to talk about the Titans, but I just want to say that. Tomorrow, bright and early, the Titans have the first pick. So go to bed, get you some sleep, and let's get up in the morning and let's carry on with the rest of this draft. Still some big positions of need for the Titans. Let's see if maybe Will Levis gets traded tomorrow as well. Tighten up, everybody.